Possible to be a good man without being a dangerous man. Because how can you be virtuous if you don't have or possess the ability to not be virtuous or to be dangerous or to afflict harm on someone? I was thinking about the difference between favor and favoritism, and how there's been times in my life that, man, I've really witnessed God's favoritism. When I first got to federal prison, I was met with the welcoming committee, and they were like, "Look, these are the rules. You stick with your race. Don't be, chopping it up with the Hispanics. Don't be chopping up with the black guys." I don't know, when I hear ridiculous things like that, I just got this Ron Green chuckle, like, what? What are you talking about? No, that's not what I'm gonna do. Now, thankfully, I didn't really know how serious these rules were going into prison. I don't know why they didn't check me at that point right there, but they just sort of left me alone. It wasn't long before, I got connected with some other Christians, started going to Bible study. There wasn't but a couple of us there. Soon, the Bible study was turned over to me. And I've told this story multiple times, but there's this guy named Hardaway. He had walked down 25 years. He had a couple years left. And each bunk had a chair, and he had my chair. It wasn't that big of a deal when there was 130 people in a pod of 168, but when it started getting full, people would come get their chair. It was their chair. I wasn't going to take it. I finally figured out who had my chair, and I went to Hardaway, and I said, "Dude, I need my chair." And he also just sort of chuckled and walked off. So I contemplated what I would do next for a good 30, 45 seconds. He had his chair in the TV room, and he had my chair by his bunk. So I went into his room, grabbed my chair, and proceeded to go play cards with my friends. He come in to get the chair from me. Of course, my, white-collared, snotty-nosed friends just, I like hanging out with the smart guys. Scattered! Like cockroaches with a light cut on. So there I am. He got the chair. I snatched the chair back from him, and as loud as I could, and I can get loud, I said, "Hardaway, I'd rather die than give you this chair." And there he stood holding a big pen in his hand, and I could tell he was thinking about stabbing me. I'll be honest with you, fear didn't overcome me, anger did. Anger overcame me. I done pushed him up against the wall, and listen, he was a lot bigger than I was. Probably had a good 70, 80 pounds on me. I was probably 180 pounds. He was probably a good 250. So then, I'm not sure why he did this, but he decided to go back to his room and put on his steel-toe boots and get a real shake. Hardaway was a black guy. Now, I'd already made friends with multiple black fellas and Hispanics from old Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, on to the Texicans. Our Bible study was growing. So as loud as I could, I screamed that. Coming back down the hallway, there was a guy that would listen to my Bible study. He wouldn't come to Bible study, but as he was getting ready for work, he was close enough to the closet we were having the Bible study in to hear us. So there I was teaching, sometimes preaching, and him listening. Well, he and another guy, now this guy had 2 weeks left. And I had no idea how much clout this guy had, but man, this fella had some clout. He was also a black guy. And the other guy in my Bible study was a black guy. Hardaway was a black guy. And they stood up to him, and the guy that I'd never spoken to, I heard him tell Hardaway, he said, "If you lay hands on the preacher, you'll not wake up in the morning. I will spend the rest of my life in prison." Well, that was the favor of God. Let me tell you what else happened. Because I was willing to stand up for myself, I earned a lot of respect, and the Bible study boomed. I mean, people lined up and down the hallway. The reason that I realized this favor so much is I'm watching a documentary on HBO the other day about a famous Aryan gang. And the guy that I was in prison with was one of the leaders, one of the 5 leaders of the state of Texas in this Aryan gang. And I remember one day he walked up to me and he said, "Preacher, is McFly a friend of yours?" I knew who McFly was. I'm like, I don't understand what he mean by friend. He said, "Does he come to your Bible study?" I said, "He's been once or twice, but he's agnostic. He's not a part of our Bible study." I had no idea that this leader, this Aryan gang, was asking permission to mess with this fellow. This guy had some questionable charges and he was not allowed in the TV room. So what they do, they go and they dump a bucket of poop and pee on his bunk. So what does McFly do? McFly goes and tells the guard. So now this other big dude with the dirty white boys comes to me named Flash. He's about 6'7", big bald-headed dude. Is his "Preacher, fix this." I had to go to the guard and fix it. But I say all that to let you know that, God, a good man is not a man who's not dangerous. A good man is a man that's willing to stand up for what he believes in. You could say, well, Ron, it's stupid to stand up for a chair. I stood up for a lot of other things in there too. They would literally bring guys in that they knew would get extorted, and they would bring them to me right off the bat. And it wasn't because I was that tough. It was because of the collection of Christians that we had. We got together and we just, we stood together to stop some of the extortion and some of the beatdowns and stuff. Man, I've been involved in a lot of fights, but there's something exceptionally bloody about a prison fight. I've never seen that much blood in my life in some of these fights. A good man is not a harmless man. A good man is a dangerous man who chooses to walk in humility and stand up for the right thing. Be a good man.